The third tournament on the Optical Express Pro Golf Tour for 2011 was played over the recently redesigned Westerwood. And on day one the conditions were fine enough after some wet weather. And some of the players making good scores, among them young Ian Redford. This is tee shot at the par 3 15th, his signature hole. And that was Ian on his way to a score of 69, 2 under on this course. Originally co-designed by the great Seve Ballesteros, and Ben Irving here playing his own little tribute on day one. Ben not scoring so well, but this a nice little chip, and I'm sure Seve would be proud. Also on day one, over here on the 14th, James Mcgee, well, rolling in a nice putt there for a birdie, and he scored well also on day one, finished at level par. Although faded a little on day two to finish down the field. Now a man who finished 5th at the last tournament at Hilton Park, Graham Brown from Montrose, this was him on the 11th, rolling in a superb putt for a birdie on his way to a magnificent 67 for 4 under par, and that was good enough to be third outright overnight, and Graham Brown looking for another good performance. The man who won the first Optical Express Tour event of the year, Paul O'Hara from Colville Park, well, this was him on the 15th, and although he played steadily enough and had a bright start, not too many putts were dropping for Paul, and he also finished level par, but it could have been so much better. Now Greg Hutchins, well, what a year he's having. He's played the Scottish Open, the Welsh Open and the PGA down at Wentworth, making the cut in all three. But he couldn't carry that form onto Westerwood. They are just coming through a little bit strong on 11. And the third man making up the trio of Paul O'Hara, Greg Hutchins, was the winner last time out at Hilton Park, Paul McKechnie. And Paul having a great year on the Tartan Tour. And of course with that win at Hilton Park, enjoying life on the Optical Express Pro Golf Tour as well. That was his approach at the 11th. And as he walked up for this birdie putt, well, it went in, as many others did during the day, as Paul made his way to a course record 62, 9 under par. Magnificent stuff, and that gave him an overnight lead of 4 clear shots as we moved on to day 2. Well, the weather worsened over the night. It was fairly cloudy, but the sun was shining on a few of the players. Lorne Kelly came from well down the field. He shot a great 68, getting up and down the last for his par, and he finished the tournament at 1 under, which was good enough for a tie for 5th, and a nice solid performance. There were some amateurs in the field this time around, amongst them young Fraser McKenna, and here we see a nice chip on the 5th and rolling in on the last for his par, and that was good enough for 2 over par for the tournament and a tie for 10th, and a nice little voucher to take to the pro shop. Finishing just above him in 8th place, coming all the way down from Nairn, was Malcolm Isaacs. Here fairly short with his approach on the 5th, he rolled up a magnificent putt and tapped that in for a par, and he finished the tournament at level par in 8th place. Finishing 1 spot behind after a promising start on day 1, Ian Redford. 9th place is a nice finish for the rookie pro, but he knows himself he's capable of better.
I mean, yesterday the long game was half decent and shot 2 under pretty comfortably, so it's kind of a little bit inconsistent just now, just kind of waiting for the consistency to come up, and then lower scores will come.
There aren't many who turn professional while still a teenager, but it's a decision that Ian's comfortable with.
It was a decision that was made kind of earlier, well, at the start of the year. I just felt as though it was kind of the right thing for me to do. People are going to give me the opportunity to turn professional and back me all the way. So, and you know, Dad's 110% behind me as well. So, and at the end of the day, my dream is to be a professional golfer, and I just feel as though that was the best way for me to get to where I want to be. And to be honest with you, I think it's a great decision that I've made. I really enjoy the standard and just playing as a professional. It's great.
And speaking of high standards, you must wonder how it feels to play 2 under par and still come in 7 shots off the lead.
I think that was, I mean, when I came in, I saw a guy who beat me by 3 shots, and I was like, oh, I might not be that far behind. And then finding a guy shooting 9 under, that's just fantastic, really. I mean, on any golf course, that's a great score. These guys that are winning these tournaments, these guys can play at a really high level. So, I mean, that just shows here. That is a really great scoring.
A great score indeed, but could Paul McKechnie carry his form onto the second day? Well, as we catch up with him in the middle of the fairway on the 5th, he's 1 over par for today. But playing in a nice approach, just missing the green to the left. Playing alongside Graham Brown from Montrose, who with his 4 under total for day 1, started the day 5 shots behind. And as he negotiated this tricky dogleg 5th, well, he was level par for the day, which means he was only 4 behind, and perhaps catching up. In between them both, Alan Lockhart. His day 1 5 under 66, well, he probably expected it would get him closer to the front, if not the lead outright. But as it was, he was playing the chasing game. But he too still playing steadily, keeping up his form from the first day on to the second. And both Paul and Alan got their pars here on the 5th. But Graham Brown was a man on a mission at this point. And he rolled up and in this birdie putt to move to 1 under for the day, 5 under for the tournament, and only 3 off the lead. Further out on the course, Paul O'Hara. Well, he was level after day 1. But 1 under par here, playing the 9th, and a nice up and down. Well, that made sure he stayed at 1 under. And looking to move through the field. Further out, Mark Loftus. He was also 1 under par for the tournament as he played his tee shot up to the 15th. And heading towards a top 5 finish. Just a little bit of backspin, pulling the ball off the green. But his form was nice and steady throughout both days, as was this man's. Falkirk Trist's Craig Matheson. He was 1 over at this point for the day, but level for the tournament. And he too was looking for a good finish. Back on the 9th, and Graham Brown had come up short with his approach. Needing an up and down to get his par, he played a nice little chip. But unfortunately for Graham, he missed that putt. At that point he was only 2 shots behind. Paul McKechnie had also missed the green, and as he chipped on a little bit short, well, there's the difference. Paul made that putt, got his par, and rolled along steadily. Well, it was a common theme in this group. Alan Lockhart also came up a little bit short, and although he seemed disappointed with that chip, he sank the putt, and at this point he was only 1 shot off the lead. And his challenge was going well up until the 11th here, and this was his approach shot. Not too far, but he just came across it, not the best contact, and into the water hazard, and that cost him dearly. He dropped the ball into a horrendous lie and failed to get up and down for his bogey, dropping 2 shots to go back to 3 off the lead. And as you can see, Paul McKechnie was relentless. He didn't make his birdie putt, but steady par golf he knew would probably be good enough to bring home the victory. Up ahead on the 18th, Paul O'Hara. Well, he didn't manage to get up and down from the bunker here and bogeyed the last, but even still finished at 3 under par to finish the tournament in outright 3rd place. Just behind him on the hole, Craig Matheson. Well, he wanted a good score and he was really going for it, putting the cameraman and a couple of spectators in danger. As it was, he got up and down nicely there from the back of the green, and he finished in a tie for 5th, at 1 under par. That was 1 place behind this man, Mark Loftus, who knocked that little putt in the last for a birdie to finish at 2 under par for the tournament and outright 4th. And so to the final group. Well, unfortunately Graham Brown's form deserted him on the back 9, and he finished down the field in a tie for 10th. Alan Lockhart steadied the ship after his little blip at the 11th to finish clear 2nd at 4 under par, but really the story was all about one man. Paul McKechnie, who had a 72 to finish at 8 under par, still won the tournament by 4 clear shots. So after winning the last 2 Optical Express Pro Golf Tour tournaments, the obvious question, how does it feel?
It feels great, to be fair. It's one of these things where any time you're actually pitching up for a tournament, you should have done the work prior to that so that you could be competitive. So it kind of just reaffirms a wee bit that I'm working on the right stuff and the game's going in the right direction. So yeah, I win a couple of times is fantastic.
And what about that course record?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe 12 or 13 that I've got now, so I seem to kind of have a wee nasty habit of shooting kind of low when I get it going. So I think certainly the last couple of months, I feel as though the amount of times I've said, you know, I shot 4 under today, but I could have shot 10 under. And then yesterday, you know, to say it wasn't a surprise is a wee bit, you know, but I felt as though it had been coming for a wee while. And I mean, yesterday it was relatively straightforward, kind of unobtrusive golfing.
And after scoring like that, he's no doubt a fan of the revised layout up here at Westerwood.
I think up here they've done some fantastic work in the last few years, and it's just that, and certainly in my opinion, it's a great layout. So yeah, I mean, I thought the course held up fantastically overnight with a bit of rain, obviously last night, but the course was still very fair, and I think if you hit a good putt in the greens, it went in.